You may have heard about something called artificial intelligence, or AI, and that it can be used to help you with certain tasks. But is AI useful for language learning? In this episode, we recommend some of the best free and paid AI tools that you might want to try so that you can improve your English and take it to the next level. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello and welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with more than 50 years of teaching English between us, we'll help you improve it and take it to the next level. How are you doing, Reza?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks, Craig. It's been a few weeks since I had that operation on my nose to help my breathing. So hopefully my voice is back to normal, but apologies to listeners if I sound a little bit strange, but within a few weeks, my voice will be back to normal. So patience, please.
And if you're wondering how Reza smells, I can tell you that it's bloody awful. Sorry, old friend. Couldn't resist it. Now, we are not computers. You probably know, if you're a long-time listener, that you're listening to the real deal. You're listening to Craze? You're listening to Craig and Reza and not to an AI software program. But in this episode, we're going to give you some recommendations that can help you with your English. But first, this week, we have a voice message from Paco from Badajoz.
Hello, Reza and Craig. This is Paco from Badajoz. First of all, thank you for your job. This podcast is excellent, entertaining, interesting, funny. I don't have adjectives to describe it. And now I would like to tell you something that happened to me many years ago. I was talking to a man, an English native speaker, a South African chap, and this reflects the importance of a good pronunciation, not perfect pronunciation, but really clear enough pronunciation. I told him, to this man, I work in a bank. After that, he started me questions about what kind of music I like, what was my favorite instrument. Then I realized that there had been a misunderstanding. And I said to him, no, I work in a bank, not a band. Mine is a much boring job, dealing with money, credit card, loans, And that's all. Guys, thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much, Paco, for your message. I can understand how that might cause confusion, the difference between bank and band. If you don't stress those last consonants, it can sound quite similar, can't it, Reza? I work in a band.
Yes, but I wouldn't worry too much about it, Paco, because it could even happen between two native speakers. Just because there's a little bit of background noise or because the person didn't hear you correctly, it doesn't mean necessarily that you have bad pronunciation. So don't worry, it's just one of those funny things that happens sometimes.
And it is unusual that the consonants are confused because usually context makes the word clear. But what can cause confusion is vowel sounds. For example, I'm going to the bitch, I'm going to the beach. That long vowel sound with beach is what you need to focus on.
Hopefully beach is the right answer, yeah?
Well, yes, that's why it can cause confusion. I'm going to the bitch. Which one? Okay, next one. What's another confusion, Reza?
The old shit and sheet. I want a sheet, I imagine, for my bed. You wouldn't want a shit in your bed. Shit is a slightly vulgar word associated with toilets. I want a sheet, the long sound, for my bed.
Another confusion could be chip, the thing that you eat, and cheap. CHEAP, inexpensive. It's very cheap. Make sure you make that vowel sound long to avoid confusion.
Craig, after we record this podcast, do you fancy a bear or you fancy a beer?
I'd rather have a beer because I don't really fancy a wild animal. So again, that different pronunciation of the vowel sound, ear with beer, and bear.
Live and leave is another classic. So the long sound, leave, Leave, means to go away. Whereas live, the short sound, means to stay in a place or to have your house there. So I live in Madrid.
I've been hearing that mistake quite frequently recently with my students in the conversation class, that they confuse that, and I hear I leave in Madrid or live in Madrid instead of live. So be careful of that one. And finally, there's one more that came to mind that is a consonant problem, a confusion with a consonant. The difference between yolk, Y-O-L-K, the yellow part of an egg, and joke with a J, that's something funny. So it's a good joke, not it's a good yolk. So be careful of those individual sounds. Make sure you're pronouncing them correctly to avoid any confusion.
I just wanted to comment on a little thing which I noticed in Paco's message. He said something which almost sounds right, but it isn't right. And it could cause confusion in this situation. Paco said that he had a conversation which was misunderstood with an English native speaker. No, it was a native English speaker. You got it the wrong way around. Not English native, but native English speaker. What's more, you specified, Paco, that he was South African, if I understood you correctly.
He says South African chap, which I thought was very nice.
Yeah, so he definitely was not an English native speaker. He was a South African native speaker of English, that's true, but he definitely was not an English native speaker. He was a South African native English speaker. You see what I'm saying? It could cause confusion because it's not only English people who are English speakers, like me, for example.
I did like that expression chap in your message, Paco. You said South African chap, which is a nice way to describe a man, C-H-A-P, chap.
Be careful also with the words much and very. They often cause problems, Paco. You said much boring. You can't say that because boring is an adjective. You put very before adjectives. Very boring, very good, very hot. And you put much before nouns. Much money, much love, much excitement. Sorry, I think you were describing your job in the bank and you should say it's very boring, not much.
Next, we have a voice message from friend of the show, Christian from El Salvador.
Hello, Reza. Hello, Craig. This is Christian from El Salvador. I sent you a message to share some ideas about future episodes. When I tried to improve my listening skills, I usually watch movies and read the subtitles at the same time. And I noticed that it was harder for me to do both things at the same time. Maybe because the neural pathways are different. And it's harder for you to have to make an extra effort. So you could make an episode about the neurological processes involved in learning a new language, a new skill. We could learn something new. We could end up with the same old-fashioned advices. The second is that you could develop an episode about AI resources that help us to develop the speaking and listening skills. I know there is a lot of new resources developing. It's a boom at this moment. And third is on website advice. And when you study, for example, phrasal verbs topic in the Mention English website, you could link the podcast episodes that expand that knowledge. So we can expand and our studies and learn more. I know it's a lot of work, but it could be helpful.
Thank you very much for your message, Christian. Lovely to hear from you. And thank you for your recommendations for the podcast. Neuro pathways for language learning. That sounds interesting. And I do know that whenever you watch a PowerPoint presentation with someone speaking, and there's a lot of text on the PowerPoint slide, it's almost impossible to read the text and listen to what the person's saying at the same time. You either do one or the other, which refers to your comment, Christian, about reading subtitles and listening at the same time. You're going to do one or the other. Any thoughts, Reza?
Yes, I would like to add something about the subtitles. I sometimes have trouble with subtitles in Spanish. Sometimes, particularly when it's certain Central or South American Spanish, because I'm not so familiar with it. I know Spanish from Spain better. Sometimes I put on the subtitles, but sometimes the subtitles use words which are not exactly the same as the Spanish they're speaking. I'm not talking about English audio with Spanish subtitles. No, I'm talking about Spanish audio and Spanish subtitles. But sometimes they put the subtitles in South American Spanish, but the voice, the audio, is European Spanish or vice versa. And I find it really confusing. My brain, it feels like it's going to explode because I'm hearing something which I think is, something like, estoy conduciendo. But I read in the subtitles and it says, estoy manejando, which is what they say in many South America. And my brain just can't take it. I wonder if that has happened to you, Christian, or other people. Maybe the subtitles aren't exactly what they're saying. I'm sure the same thing happens in English. I'm sure sometimes that the subtitles are not exactly what they've said. What do you reckon, Craig?
Yeah, no, I would suggest for subtitles to try, if your English is at the level that makes it possible, only to listen, or to, and Reza suggested this in the past, to watch the film or TV series in Spanish first, so you know what's happening, you know what's going on, you know the story, and then change to original version with no subtitles and just enjoy the pronunciation, the vocabulary, the way the actors interpret the roles in original version. That could be a way of improving your listening without subtitles. Your third suggestion, linking Mansion Inglés to the podcast, I don't think that's a very workable thing, Christian, mainly because the website Mansion Inglés was originally developed and still is mainly for Spanish speakers of English, whereas this podcast, we have listeners from all around the world. So it wouldn't be particularly useful to marry the two things together. So I don't think that's going to happen. However, your second idea, AI tools for language learning, we liked very much, and that's the focus of this episode. As Christian said, AI, artificial intelligence, is experiencing a boom at the moment. It's very, very popular, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think it's only going to get more popular. So let's look at some ways you can improve your English with AI. The first app we have for you is free. It's called Duolingo. You may have heard of it. It is an app on your phone that has gamified lessons. So you play games to learn English, you get points, and you get rewards that help to motivate you as you go up the levels and increase your vocabulary and your grammar. It's a very well planned and thought out application. I definitely recommend it. So all of the links to the apps and AI tools we're going to talk about are in the show notes. Go to inglespodcast.com/521 and there you'll see a link to Duolingo together with the other apps that are coming up now.
Another very popular and useful free app is Memrise. Let me spell that, Memrise. They're probably playing with the word memorize, but they've taken away one of the letters because that's how it works. With Memrise, it uses spaced repetition and mnemonics for vocabulary, for memorization. So mnemonics is using little tricks, little verses, associations to help you memorize, to remember things. Have you used Memrise, Craig?
I've played with it. I haven't used it for Spanish or any other languages that I'm learning. But it's very, very popular. It's very common. Many of my students do use it and they like it very, very much. Just one thing about these apps like Duolingo, Memrise, They're very good to supplement your learning. They're very good for using dead time when you're in a queue or you're sitting on a bus or a train and you've got free time to learn some vocabulary. But if you want to actually speak and interact and communicate with people, one thing I would suggest is joining my conversation course. What a transition that was, Reza. Did you like that?
I like the way you did that.
Thank you. So if you do want to speak with me and a group of lovely people who are very motivated to speak and improve their English, why not send me an email and I'll send you information. My email address is craig@inglespodcast.com. And the focus of these conversation courses is on discussion, debate, role play, and actually using the language that you're learning in these apps like Duolingo and Memrise.
If you prefer a one-to-one experience, so just you on your own and one teacher, me, you could get in touch with me at belfastreza@gmail.com. And the advantages of a one-to-one class are that it can be tailor-made. That means designed specifically for your needs. It could be, for example, to prepare you for a specific exam that you have to do. Or it may be that you need to have a lot of vocabulary about a particular area, or perhaps you just really want to practice your speaking. Maybe it's grammar that you need. Whatever, with a one-to-one class, we can design it for whatever you need. So get in touch with me, belfastreza@gmail.com, if that might be of interest to you.
The next app that we're going to recommend does have speaking practice, but it is with a AI computer. It's a chatbot. So not exactly the same thing as speaking with me or speaking with Reza. It's called Mondly, Mondly. It's by the very popular course book publisher Pearson. They also publish dictionaries. And this app has exercises for grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, conversation. It's a very well-designed app and definitely worth having a look at.
Craig, have you ever spoken with some kind of AI-generated software and tried to be funny?
Oh, yes.
I have. I tried to chat up, is it Siri? And I was impressed that she figured out that I was being funny. After about a minute, she said, "Oh, you're joking," because I'd rather not say the words, but I suggested doing something sexual with her, which probably wasn't appropriate. And she figured it out. And she said to me, "Oh, you're being funny." And then she just went silent and wouldn't speak to me for a minute. I don't normally do such things with real people, by the way, but this was AI. I just wanted to test her.
You should be careful. You might get a computer virus if you take the relationship too far.
Oh, very good.
Are you suggesting that Siri is the only thing in the world that actually understands your jokes?
Well she understood them and she decided to blank me. She stopped talking to me whenever she understood them.
And our next app that we have mentioned before is Busuu, B-U-S-W. That's not W, that's U-U. So B-U-S-U-U. Now, this app does cost money. It's a subscription-based app. And inside the app, you can find personalized lessons, although not as good as you would get with Reza. There are live conversation classes in this app, although not as good as mine. And of course, there's a large learner community where you can get advice and motivation from, because you're not studying by yourself. You're inside an online community, which is great for motivation and accountability. So busuu.com. And as I said before, links are in the show notes.
By the way, when Craig says not as good as classes with him, or indeed even with me, he's not joking. We're not saying that purely out of egoism. You're never going to learn as much with an app as with a proper qualified teacher.
Not yet.
Not
Maybe
yet,
that's
anyway.
coming. Maybe that's coming.
But I am specifying, though, a proper qualified teacher, as Craig and I are. There might be people who say they're teachers, but they don't know what they're doing, and they might not even be as effective as an app. But apps are, of course, fantastic to practice and slightly improve what you know. But if you never have a teacher in your life and you purely use only apps, you will get to a certain point, but you won't get that far in language learning. We have to stress that. You do, at some stage in your life, need a teacher.
Yep. Now, moving on to apps and AIs that deal more with speaking and conversation, one that I really like is TalkPal. I've mentioned this before, TalkPal. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your desktop, on your laptop. You interact with an AI person called Emma. It's great for listening, it's great for speaking, and it's great for pronunciation, because as you're speaking into the microphone on your desktop, on your phone, if you're not pronouncing the words correctly, it won't write it correctly on the screen. Because it's voice to text, you can see the words you're saying and you can identify where you need to improve your pronunciation. Emma will interact with you in real time, and it is free. It used to be free for 15 minutes per day. That's gone down now to 10 minutes per day, but you can have 10 minutes of free conversation on TalkPal, and if you really like it, obviously pay to get more time.
That sounds reasonable to me. So Emma will give you 10 minutes free chit chat. Generally speaking, when I approach a woman to talk to her, I normally don't get any more than 10 minutes before the conversation comes to an end.
But that's not because of your bad pronunciation, is it?
No, for other reasons. My face, I think.
TalkPal has been around for a while, but a new one that's just appeared, well, not just appeared, but has appeared recently, is ELSA, E-L-S-A. And I also really like this. Again, you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your computer. It analyzes your pronunciation using AI, and it gives personalized speaking improvement exercises. And I played with this for a while, and it gave me 11 speaking turns per role play. So you're in a role play situation, you're speaking with the AI, and it gives you 11 sentences or replies per role play. Now, I chose to try the job interview role play. I tried it last week, and I spoke to Elsa. Elsa was the interviewer, I was the interviewee. She gave me a job interview. And she said to me at the end that my language skills are strong in English, which is nice to know, and that I'm confident in communicating in English. She also said that I gave engaging and relevant responses. I was clear and fluent in my language, and I had a professional tone, which demonstrated my ability to excel in an interview setting. And then Elsa said, keep up the good work. So it also gives you a summary of how you performed during your job interview. And more precise feedback, she said my pronunciation level is advanced, my vocabulary level is advanced, and my grammar level is advanced. Also nice to know. And just let me read you a sample exchange to show you why AI is still not there yet. It's still not quite where it should be, because during the interview, Elsa said to me, well, Craig, that's impressive. It sounds like you have a lot of experience teaching English. How do you think your teaching experience will benefit you in the position you're applying for? And I replied, well, the position I'm applying for is for an English teacher. So I think my experience as an English teacher will help me in this role. So what a dumb question, what a stupid question that probably wouldn't be asked in a job interview. So again, be careful with AI, take it with a pinch of salt. It's not 100% realistic, and you need to be very careful of the information that it's giving you. But from an interaction perspective, it's very, very useful to simulate and prepare for a job interview. How much does it cost, Reza?
I've no idea.
Well, I'll tell you. Elsa Pro is $11.83 per month if you pay yearly, and Elsa Premium, which is unlimited, is $14.17 per month paid every year. So it's not cheap, but it is very useful for practicing interaction with AI, and it's elsaspeak.com. And remember, you don't necessarily need these specific language AI programs to speak to a computer. You can also use your microphone to speak with Gemini, which is Google's AI system, and Microsoft's Copilot. And ChatGPT also has a microphone activation button, which isn't normally activated. So you have to go in there and turn it on. But you can also speak and chat and have interviews and role plays with those 3 AI programs.
Craig, have you heard of an app called Hello Talk?
Yes, and I think we may have mentioned that before. It's an app that focuses strongly on the users, on the user base, on the community, and it will connect you with native speakers for language exchange. So you can practice your English with an English person who wants to learn Spanish, for example. It connects people together. It's like a marketplace. And you speak to people through your voice recordings, through messaging, text messaging, and you can even make video calls to the other person. A lot of this app is free, but there are 1 or 2 restrictions. So if you want to pay for the VIP plan, the very important person plan, the VIP plan, that will cost you $12.99 per month, $79.99 for a year. Or if you think you might be learning English all of your life, you can pay $149.99 for a lifetime membership. But try it for free first, see if you like it. It's hellotalk.com.
Another interesting app is Tandem, Tandem. It's also a language exchange app with over 1 million active users, so it's pretty big. And it's largely centered around its chat capabilities and language tools that facilitate communication. But there is also a tutoring service offered in the app. So if you're interested in that, have a look in the show notes. That's Tandem.
Now, be careful with these apps that are community-based and language exchange apps, because some people use these for dating, to meet people. So be especially careful if you are a woman, if you're a female. We don't want you to be hassled or bothered in any way. Again, if you want to feel in a safe situation and with nice people and you don't want to have that vulnerability, then get in touch with me for my conversation class. But having said that, Hello Talk and Tandem are very good apps for meeting people who want to practice their language. Just be aware that you may meet people who are there to find partners.
These people who do that, are they like trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Are they people who are interested in English and might want to meet a partner? Or simply they want to meet a partner and so they've got onto this app?
To be honest, I haven't been on them long enough to know. I haven't really investigated that. I've just read reviews. I've tried them briefly, and the reviews I've read say that, yeah, it can be a bit annoying, especially if you're a woman and men are constantly asking for your phone number, asking to meet you, asking to see you, where are you? So just be aware of that. It might not happen, but you should be on your guard.
So it's not a question of simply irritating and rather pedantic men saying, oh, hi, I'm a big fan of phrasal verbs. What about you? It's not like that, no.
Look, it's the internet. I mean, you know what kind of people can be around on the internet. You never know who you're going to meet, so just be careful. The next app we've got for you is called Speaky, Speaky, the Speaky app. Now, this is similar to Hello Talk, so it connects you with native speakers. You have language exchange conversations, and the focus of this app is on voice chat, which is very useful if you want to improve your fluency. It's a fairly new app, and it's free at the moment, and it says it has emerging AI features, which means it's incorporating AI into the app, and more will be coming soon. And I don't know about you, Reza, but I feel that everything these days has AI. Last week I went to buy a pair of shoes and I asked if they had AI incorporated so that it would take me automatically where I wanted to go with GPS inside. It seems like everything has AI these days.
So far, we've been talking about AI to help you with, above all, speaking and conversation. But there is also AI, which is more focused towards writing. And I have to admit a certain bias. A bias is a prejudice. I'm more likely personally myself to trust writing rather than speaking corrections if it's AI, because AI listening to me and picking up every single one of my mistakes through my voice, that's difficult. That needs to be really, really, really good software. Much easier for writing. Simply, if it reads the text, if it's wrong, correct it. So why do I have a feeling, would you agree with me, that you can possibly rely a lot more on corrections of writing than speaking?
You have a point, although recently they've been doing some fantastic things, especially in GPT 4.0, I think is the latest one, that really is impressive in the way it's identifying voice and reproducing voice. You can't tell the difference between the AI and a native speaker. It really is incredible. So I think it's only a matter of time. Now, traditionally, Grammarly was a really popular app, or an extension on your internet browser, on Chrome, for example, which did check your grammar and help you to improve your accuracy. It's still very, very good, but I think it's losing ground, which means it's falling behind the other apps, and I'm not sure it's the leader anymore. So Grammarly is still on the list. It's still a very good app. There is a free version, and you pay more if you want more functionality.
There's another interesting app to help you with your writing called Hemingway Editor. Well, actually, it's a website, and it improves your writing clarity and the conciseness, how correct you are and without too many words, the conciseness, by highlighting the complex sentences and suggesting simpler, more concise alternatives. And there's also a desk plugin. They have a free basic version which identifies issues, but it doesn't suggest corrections with AI. You've got to pay for that, and they've got plans starting from $10 per month.
One that we've mentioned before, especially if you're studying for an exam, that's the Cambridge AI Write and Improve website. It's a website. Go to the website writeandimprove.com, as usual, link in the show notes, sinclairspodcast.com/521. Write and Improve will give you feedback on your exam writings. So if you're studying for B2 first, for example, you write your essay, you put it in the Write and Improve AI system, and it will give you feedback and tell you where you need to improve. Now, it's not as good as studying with Reza because it does make mistakes. Just be careful. However, it's free. So, University of Cambridge, it's a well-respected language body that you can trust. So go and try that. If you can't afford to study with a teacher and get personalized feedback on your writing, you can try Write and Improve.
Our final category is the area of vocabulary. And there's a couple of apps here which I have used, even in class, actually. Anki is a flashcard app, and it uses spaced repetition for effective vocabulary memorization. And perhaps even more popular than that is Quizlet, which is another flashcard app. And it has game modes as well and quizzes. So That's good fun. So teachers, we quite like using Quizlet in classes.
The next two recommendations actually design lessons for you. Now, if you're a student, try eigo.ai. That's eigo.ai. With that app, you can create your personalized language lesson. It will give you activities for reading, listening, writing, and speaking on a wide range of topics, and you choose your level. It has 3 separate levels of difficulty, and it will give you feedback on your English. Now, that's if you're a student. What I'm using to help me design my lessons at the moment is an AI website called twee.com, TWEE.com. Now, this is for teachers. I know we have some language teachers listening to this podcast. So you go to YouTube, for example, you take a short video, you put it in Twee, and it will write some questions for you. But as always with AI, you must have a good look at these questions. Are they suitable? Is the level okay? Do you want to change anything? But it's a starting point, and it does save time. So if you are a teacher, you might be interested in twee.com. And our final pick here is called FunPick. It's our final recommendation, and it's a natural reader for your desktop, which means it will read to you in a voice that you choose. You take some text, maybe it's a blog post, something from the news, or something you've written, and you paste the text into this program, and it will read it to you in a variety of languages and accents. So not only English, if you're studying French, Chinese, Italian, it will read to you in those languages so that you can copy it, improve your pronunciation, but also it will let you choose an English accent. For example, maybe you work with an international team and you have to get on Zoom and you have somebody in India who's speaking English to you. But that's not their native language. They're speaking with an Indian accent. So you paste in your text, you hit play, and an Indian voice will read it to you. You can get used to the way an Indian speaker pronounces English. The same with Irish, the same with Scottish, the same with American. You can play with different accents, and that's really useful if you're listening to a variety of different accents.
Okay, well, we hope we've given you some good ideas, but now it's your turn to practice your English. Why don't you send us a voice message? You can use SpeakPipe. There's a link in the show notes, speakpipe.com/inglespodcast, and you can record an audio message. There's a maximum cutoff point of 90 seconds, so make sure you get all the information into a minute and a half. Or if you prefer to write, you could send emails either to craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you, especially if you have a recommendation for an AI tool that you're using and that we haven't spoken about. So are you using something that could be useful for people listening to this podcast and for us? Let us know, and we'll be happy to use your message in a future podcast. And if you're a Spanish speaker and you want to study for free, we suggest visiting the Mansion Inglés website. You can study there for free, or you can go to the store for some paid ebooks and audios for self-study. The store address is store.mansioningles.net.
Now, as always, we'd like to thank all our Patreon supporters. And people on the Patreon scheme, they donate as little as $1.50 per month. And as a way of saying thank you to them, we give them instant access to the complete audio transcriptions of all the episodes of the podcast. If you're interested, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/inglespodcast.
We don't have time, unfortunately, to mention everybody who is supporting us on Patreon. There are just too many of you lovely people. But we do have time to say hi and thank you to our latest Patreon supporters. And they are Maria Vera, Enrique Gonzalvo, Sebastián Hernández Giner, Alberto Toledano, Usune Arijotes Tolosa, and Javier Gonzalez. And a very special thank you to 3 people who are donating more than the minimum amount. Thank you so much to Sara, Macarena Salazar Ortiz, and Limp, L-I-M-P. Thank you to you and to everybody who's supporting us on Patreon. Now, we don't know what we're going to speak about next week, but we will be back with another episode next week. Until then, have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening this week. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends so that more people can listen. And we remind you that the music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.